What is going on, everybody? It is Alex coming back at you with another video, and today it is going to be the post Super Bowl mock draft with trades. It's gonna be 2 rounds separated into 2 days, and actually, I lied. It's gonna be 3 rounds split up into 3 different days. So if you guys do love content like that, feel free to stick around. We're gonna be changing it up quite a bit, doing stuff like what I would do mock drafts, more fan mock drafts, and if you guys want to be a part of that, you got to go to the Discord. Dallas had a snow week. We call it a Dalaska every single year. So all my work got pushed back. So I appreciate y'all's patience on the film studies, but we do those there. You can't do over here on YouTube because of copyright restrictions. So if you guys want to be a part of that, it's absolutely free. We have over 700 members over there. Feel free to join that great community. And we just breached 7,000 subscribers. Thank you guys so much for doing that. You guys are awesome. So let's continue boosting it up. 7,500 is the next small goal before we push for 10K. So would love to get there sooner rather than later. Without further ado, let's jump right into the mock draft. Starting off with pick number 1. I am going to be trading this pick. I do think that with a lot of teams, including even the Titans, sending offers in for this number 1 overall pick, that there needs to be at least some form of movement here. I brought it up on my mock draft that I did yesterday where I didn't do trades, that I still felt very compelled to do a trade at number 1, but I don't know why, what they're smoking here with having the Lions potentially trade up to 1. But anyhow, obviously the Colts are a team that are in position to move up. Steichen just got brought in, so I have a very interesting twist that may occur because of how Steichen's able to use a more mobile quarterback. But we'll check that out in a little bit. But I think a team is definitely trying to move up here, and apparently it is not the Texans or Colts that are putting in the big offers. I'm pretty damn confident it's the Panthers. I really do think it's the Panthers. But Frank Reich is also someone who can work with someone like AR, but so can Steichen. I'm giving you guys a hint at what I'm thinking about here. So I think the Panthers are going to move up to 1. I just have that gut feeling. I have that gut feeling that they are willing to leverage capital. They have a lot of picks as well, which is very enticing to the Bears, who obviously are in need of those picks. Like, you look at this right here. Obviously, the 40 has to be sent in. And a lot of people are saying that, this is a pretty solid offer. I think a 1-2-1-2 would be able to get it done. It's tough to say that. Obviously, some people are going to want that 2025. But, obviously, that's up for debate. You guys can choose the draft capital in your own minds. I'm not going to do that because it's not affecting this mock draft. But I don't think the Bears are that desperate for the 93rd overall pick. I'd rather pick up a future second than a this year third. And if you're able to pick up this type of draft capital, you really could be in business for something pretty damn awesome because you're getting a lot of pieces for a team that is looking for all the draft capital possible. And if we can click force trade, that'd be great. So I am having the Panthers move up to number 1 overall. I think a sneaky team to do it would be the Raiders, but I just don't know if they're able to do that. And personally, I would rather go with a free agent option than to leverage all that draft capital. Now, at number 1, I'm going to shake things up a little bit. I think that if you are sitting there at pick 9, and with trades especially, given how we know that there's a solidified top 4, Tanner McKee, with the emergence of Michael Wilson, has kind of shown that he should have performed even better because Michael Wilson, his wide receiver there at Stanford, performed valiantly, and he looked really good outside of the system. I think that very well might prove that Tanner McKee is probably going to drop a little bit because our excuse for him was, he doesn't have weapons. So it's definitely a top 4 in the QBs. You can go Bryce Young or CJ Stroud. I don't think Will Levis is going to be the number 1 pick. I swear to God, I will cry if Will Levis is the number 1 pick. Yes, you guys could be perfectly fine staying there at 9 and moving up a shorter distance, but at the end of the day, you don't want to get sloppy seconds since you haven't gotten the quarterback right. You're costing 2 firsts, a future second, and a this year second on a team that, in my opinion, doesn't need very much. So you choose whichever one you want. I think CJ might, after the combine, be the number 1 overall favorite because I have a weird feeling Bryce Young's going to be sub 6 foot, and that's very scary for teams. So Bryce Young could be that guy where it's like we need to move up because the Colts might be in striking range at 3, or they might move up to 1. And you don't want to be left with leftovers, especially if you're the Panthers organization. You're desperate for a QB. I'm going to have CJ be that number 1 overall pick. Just to change things up, I always go Bryce Young number 1 overall. Granted, it really is a flip-flop, 1-2. Like, you can do whatever one you want, but to add a little bit of freshness, to add a little bit of newness, CJ Stroud obviously would work really well with Frank Reich. I think that'd be a good move for him. But at pick number 2, Bryce Young does feel like the favorite here. Now, I think in the future, I am going to do a mock draft where the Texans do not take a quarterback at number 2, just because I think you could, of course, explore guys like Derek Carr as a short-term option and just, see if he could be better than his brother. But I think I am going to go Bryce. I know some people might actually want to move the Will Levis card. I am not one of those people. So I'm pretty happy sitting and being able to say, hey, I'm going to wait and I'm going to sit pretty and be happy. Pick number 3. So Jalen Carter is here. And I don't think I can pass on him, but I do think I should have some trades in here. If I'm the Cardinals, is Jalen Carter going to be the guy who really moves the needle? Not necessarily. And Gannon's gone for the Eagles. So we obviously don't know if the veterans are even going to want to stay in the system because we don't know the system yet. But I can see the Eagles trying to make a push up for this spot. I really can. You guys lost the Super Bowl, and it is a little bit hurtful to say that, but you do need to make a strong move up here to select someone really awesome. And it's a perfect spot for the Cardinals to move back and still select a defensive back or select an edge rusher. You're going to be in prime position to do whatever the hell you want. So for me, I think the Eagles would be just a great choice to move up to this number 3 spot. And I don't think it's going to be as expensive as some people think because of the fact that, the quarterbacks who are on the board are pretty much an old dude and a prospect. So, or project, excuse me. So I am actually going to push this through. I think Arizona would be perfectly happy with this move. The Eagles have moved up to number 3 overall to select Jalen Carter out of Georgia, pairing him up with Jordan Davis. Fletcher Cox will probably stay there. I don't think Javon Hargrave will because he's proven to be well-deserving of a very high contract. There are teams out there looking. I mean, you could look at Detroit as a good option. You can look at the Bears as an amazing option. You have a ton of free agency money. Why not get Javon Hargrave, move back, get a ton of first-round picks, and still end up being absolutely baller? So I think that'd be a great move, honestly, for all parties in this instance. Pick number 4 for the Colts. Will Levis seems to be a great move. Will Anderson, another incredible move. But I'm actually going to orchestrate one more trade in the top 4. Will Anderson is here, and I'm actually comfortable making this trade. I'm having the Lions make a short move up. It doesn't cost much. And a lot of Colts fans are going to say, oh, we need that number 18 pick. I don't think it costs that. I think it costs probably a second-round pick just to jump one team. Because if I'm the Seahawks sitting here, if there's 2 quarterbacks, I'm pretty happy with either of them if I'm the Colts, and I'd personally be perfectly fine sitting pretty and then getting what I want. So with the Detroit Lions, I think it will cost that 49th overall pick. You can toss in a future 4 if you'd like. Again, that's not going to affect this mock draft. So we're going to force this trade through. The Lions are making a small move up to draft Will Anderson Jr. Kind of an ideal situation. I do apologize, Seahawks fans. I've been giving y'all some love, giving you Will Anderson last week. I wanted to show a little bit of extra oomph this week and just, give somebody truly special to a team that I don't usually have as an aggressive team. But Ben Johnson's there, and you got to make that push. You got to do everything you can, and this is a great way to kick it off. Pick number 5 for Seattle. You could definitely move back here, but I do see teams like the Raiders. There's so many teams in the way that are in the mood for guys who I would move back and try to select. Like Tyree Wilson, Myles Murphy, those are the dudes who are ideal for this system. Will Levis is as well. I think Will Levis is a perfect hand-in-glove fit. I am not super high on Will Levis. I'm not as low as a lot of y'all in my comment section, but you have to admit, when a guy's a system fit, he's a system fit. Gino's old. He's going to be getting a new contract. Apparently, the long-term contract talks are good. Of course, they're going to say that. They want to put it out there. So, it just gets extra media attention towards it. I don't know if that's actually going to be a long-term thing. I'd franchise Geno, say, hey, prove it one more year and see what happens from there. But the thing is, your team is too damn good to be in position to draft a star quarterback. And is Will Levis that star quarterback? Maybe not. But he fits the system perfectly. When he's healthy, he's a very talented quarterback. And the truth is, people are saying he's going to be a top 3, he might be the number 1 overall pick. I have to factor realism in here. He literally plays the exact same system. Play for play. Very, very, very similar. Both his coach as well as the offensive coordinator here are former Rams OCs. Identical system. It makes sense. Also, you're giving Jim Irsay this, but the reason I moved back is for that very reason. Steichen is your new OC. Steichen is there probably for the long haul because he's an amazing offensive mind. So that's great for y'all. Again, that is incredible in terms of what you guys are getting out of this. But for me, when I see Steichen on your guys' team, he worked so well with somebody who is athletic, not necessarily the best, most accurate passer, but somebody who has a lot of upside and has a great work ethic. And from the interviews that I have seen, and after his post-game conference versus Florida State, and he threw 33% completion percentage in that game, it was pretty obvious that he's someone who's very critical upon himself. He did not look happy with his own performance, as he should not have been. But it looked like someone who actually does belong on a team. And Steichen has proven to work with somebody where all of us do not believe he's worth the pick, but all of a sudden you see through the work ethic and through the offensive scheming, they're able to make it work and push to a Super Bowl. That's why I'm setting this up for a superstar here, potentially in Anthony Richardson. Steichen is the reason. Nothing else really makes sense for Anthony Richardson in the top 10, in my opinion, except for who he's going to be with. I said it was going to be Dable or Reich. Steichen proved me wrong. There are there's 3 coaches that I'm comfortable Anthony Richardson playing behind. And that is going to be Steichen. That's going to be, why do I want to say Gannon? I'm thinking of Eagles coaches. Steichen, Reich, or Dable. Dable's out of position. And then Reich moved up for a more secure quarterback. So for me, I think this is great because you added in that extra draft capital as well, because this team has a couple more holes that it needs to fill. So it is a very risky move. I 100% understand that, but I really wanted to test out that option because when I saw Gannon go there, I was like, damn, you guys can move back and still get a superstar, and I trust Gannon to make it work. Again, that's why I have to spend so much time on that, is because I really do believe it, and it requires that type of explanation. But at pick number 7, I really love the idea of Devon Witherspoon on this team. I've been pounding the table for it. Tyree Wilson's awesome as well. But I think Devon is going to get that level of hype. You guys are in position to draft a cornerback in the next round. I don't think that would be a bad idea. But we are going to go after Devon Witherspoon. Both edge and corner are super duper deep in terms of the first 2 rounds, getting a guy who's worth it. So it doesn't matter. And I love that Devon is going to be pairing up with Nate Hobbs. Devon might end up being the 6th or the 7th pick when all is said and done. Pick number 8 for the Falcons. It's Myles Murphy or Tyree Wilson. I know that I brought up the idea of replacing Caleb McGarry with an offensive tackle like Paris Johnson yesterday, and I got some good feedback from you guys on that. Some people saying that it is a smart idea. Some people saying that, well, maybe it would be best to keep McGarry. I think that edge rusher still is going to be king here. And Myles Murphy and Tyree, if I'm not mistaken, were off the board at that time. They aren't here. And I don't want to miss out on an opportunity to get someone who's 6'6", has long ass arms, and he just has incredible run stuffing ability with unbelievable potential as a pass rusher. For me, I really like what you can bring to the table with Tyree Wilson, and holy shit, I did not know this was going to be possible, but Myles Murphy is here for the Bears. Other guys I would consider, Peter Skoronski plays pretty close to the Bears, can kick into guard, but for me, I think the guards are perfectly fine. Left tackle's okay with Braxton Jones, even though he performed better than he should have been. So maybe there is a future there in the long run, but right tackle spot still an issue. I think center still an issue. But I don't think you draft that at number 9. I think if you're going to do that, you're going to go Myles Murphy here, who is an absolute stud. Obviously, you guys know me. I love Myles Murphy. Have for a long time. He was my number 1 player. Unfortunately, 2 of my top edge rushers have both taken significant falls after I stuck my neck out for them. I hope that they took the step, and then they did not. Pick number 10. I'm debating on just going Joey Porter here, even though he's not the system fit. Christian Gonzalez is a system fit. I don't want to go Christian Gonzalez, though. I don't think Christian Gonzalez is that good. Michael Wilson made him look foolish. Like, he looked bad. Christian Gonzalez looked lost. Has very poor field awareness. He is a very good man corner. I'm not going to, totally crap on this guy. I think Joey Porter is totally worth it, though. His field awareness is unbelievable. If I'm not mistaken, Gannon might, you guys please correct me. I will find out about this after the fact, but Gannon was one of the front runners for Arizona. So if that's the case, hands down, I'm going Joey. But even if he is not, I'm going Joey Porter Jr. here at pick number 10 because I think he's one of the best man corners in the class. After watching him versus Purdue, which is the game where everybody says he got tore up by Charlie Jones, and he had plays where he got absolutely annihilated. That was early on. At the end of the game, he learned from his mistakes, he got better, and he's the reason why they won the game. He was the guy who won the game. He made the plays at the end. So I have Joey Porter, my number 2 player. I very well might move him to number 1. It's just Will Anderson was misused so badly there at Alabama, which is insane at the fact that he is still playing at the level that he did, even though he did not play in the right system. But pick number 11, quarterback no longer available. I know they made an offer for that number 1 overall pick, which means they're pretty desperate. And they could have moved here to number 3, but I would not have moved there for Will Levis or Anthony Richardson. Not a chance. But at pick number 11, if you're without a quarterback, the best thing to do is continue developing the line. I think that's the smartest thing to do. You got guys like Paris Johnson in here who a lot of people love. He's going to test out phenomenally. I think that he will end up being one of the top picks. And they took a guy who played his position last year at Ohio State in Nicholas Petit-Ferrer. So you're having that instant chemistry as well. Paris has also played guard. So if he needs to in the short run play guard, he can. That's a nice thing to add in there. Pick number 12. I'm debating moving back here. There is Aaron Rodgers trades that I can toss into the mix. I definitely can, but I could do an Aaron Rodgers trade. I just don't really think it's going to affect a day 1 pick, apparently. A lot of people are saying he's worth a 2nd round pick based on age and, his obvious cap hit. So let me know what you guys think about that. I could factor it into day 2, but that might just be something that happens on day 2. Pick number 12, though. I do want to make a move back here. You got guys like Bijan, who I'm trying to push up higher, Quentin Johnston, but I'm looking at guys like Brian Breezy, Lucas Van Ness, who would be great fits for a guy like D'Amico Ryans to be able to develop. I don't like Lucas Van Ness. I have him as my edge 13. I know that he has a very high win rate, and he has a great amount of speed to power. I think he's a one-trick pony. I don't like drafting one-trick ponies in round 1. Because if you go up against a tackle that can handle that one trick, you don't have anything. You're absolutely taken out of the game. That's my thought process. Now, I personally want to move back here. I see guys like Brian Branch who deserve that respect. Bijan that deserve that respect. The issue is I don't see, there's really good safeties round 2. I'm going to be honest. I think that there's safeties that are worth that pick. I think there's not that many defensive interior guys. And there's plenty of edge rushers. So, I might go Peter Skoronski to fit in as a guard or center here as well. I just think D'Amico is going to want to go defense. But he also knows the value of a good offensive line being there in San Francisco for so long. The defense, I think you can wait. You can go down the board and then get someone like Keanu Benton later on. Gervin Dexter, a guy who's a perfect example of someone you could develop. Keandre Coburn could be a good guy to add in the middle. So I'm going to say Brian Breezy's been falling out of mocks. I think he's going to test pretty poorly in terms of his medicals. So I'm actually going to go Peter Skoronski, and he's going to play interior offensive line for me. He can play center as well, if I'm not mistaken. I think he used to play center back in high school. But even if does not, I know his place is as an interior offensive lineman. You have 2 stud tackles at least for a year. Kenyon Green's getting better, but I trust Peter to be able to move to center as well. So I think that's a good move for the team. Pick number 13. Tackle seems to be the right move. This could be sent for Aaron Rodgers. I'm not going to do it on this one. Just because, again, there's a lot of controversy as to what's going to happen with that pick. But you could see guys like Broderick Jones making the jump into here. Anton Harrison, I think, is an absolute boss. I did not know they had him above Broderick Jones. I've definitely done this. I've looked at their mock draft probably a billion times, and he's probably looked at him right there a billion times. But I'm glad to see that because I think he deserves it, and I'm actually going to give him that love. I like Anton Harrison for this team, so we're going to go right there. Patriots, I do consider Brian Branch as a very likely option for them, but you got to continue building the O-line. I think the right thing to do is the O-line. I'm going to actually go after Darnell Wright because we already know Bill takes guys that are kind of nobodies. For me, you guys look at my board right below my face, you see Darnell Wright is my tackle number 1. I do believe in him wholeheartedly. I think that's a good move for the team. He's very athletic and needs some development and refinement, but it's a good spot for him to go. I think he has the highest ceiling out of any tackle in the class. Now, for the Packers, you can definitely trade back here, but I think Brian Branch is too good to pass on. He should be a top 15 dude. For me, where is he on my board? I'm trying to see where he is. Now I'm tripping balls. Where the hell do I have Brian Branch? Number 19. So he's in that top 20 range. He's a really damn good safety. I have a lot of respect for him. And this is a perfect spot for him to go to. He's a slot corner who's going to be playing safety, replacing Adrian Amos. And I think you also have Darnell Savage up for a contract. Both positions, I think he has the versatility and flexibility to play. So definitely someone who I have a lot of respect for, who I think would be a great fit. Pick number 16. Looking at the options for this team, I think corner would be great. There's just some really, really good corners here. Keely Ringo, again, I keep bringing this up. Christian Gonzalez and Keely Ringo are the obvious runaway favorites for me in terms of the corners at this spot. Mainly because of their ability to handle a larger wide receiver. And I'm looking at guys like CeeDee Lamb. I'm looking at guys like A.J. Brown in their division. And I really do want someone who has the muscle to go up against it. And Keely Ringo's getting flacked for absolutely no reason, in my opinion. I think it's actually kind of wrong. Keely Ringo deserves more respect than he gets. He's going to be running in the 4.3s at 210 pounds at 6'2". And he is the highest highs and the lowest lows. But that you see that in your own division with Trevon Diggs, with him having some very high highs and very low lows. To me, that is totally worth it. So I'm going to be going after Keely Ringo here at pick 16. The Steelers, it's down to offensive line as well as defensive back, as well as Jordan Addison. I think that at this point, you want to make sure you limit the options for your in-division rivals, which the majority of the teams that need tackle from now on are that. I think Broderick Jones would be a phenomenal choice for us at this spot. DeJuan Jones is probably the next guy who would be in that consideration for a tackle. So seeing them all go right in this range is absolutely I did not know I went 4 tackles in a row, but it is what it is. Pick number 18, we got Will Anderson. Now, our choices are between Bijan, who I think is a perfect fit, and it's a very likely pick of mine, or defensive back. I have to hammer this in. You did, to be fair, we did trade that early second round pick, or that earlier. So we are not guaranteed to get a top corner. That's going to press the corner need for me. I think Christian Gonzalez fits very well. I love Emmanuel Forbes. Love him. But I think that, Tyreek Stevenson's a cool option. Not at 18, but if you wanted to trade back, I think Christian Gonzalez is perfect to work here. I have him at 36 on my board. I don't think he's bad. I just think there's a very big misconception that he's a top tier, top 5 DB in this class, or top 5 player in this class. He could be a top 5 DB. It's kind of there's a pretty strong grouping. There's a big fall off after after Cam Smith, like there's a pretty big fall off, but you know, it's up for discussion whether like you have someone at 10 or have somebody at 5. It's a really close group. So pick number 19, Bijan is actually a pick that I am starting to reconsider for this spot, but I'm looking at guys like Quentin Johnston. Like you need to have teams moving for these guys. Wide receiver is very highly valued, and Quentin's my number one dude. There's just not a team that really feels like they need to make that move. Like I don't like the Steelers are not going to be making a move up for Jordan Addison. They might. I could totally see the Steelers making a move for him. Like Jordan Addison just fits the Steelers so well. We've already gotten a tackle, and DB is going to be there probably for us in the next round. So I think that's going to be a smart move. The Buccaneers, they just go after BPA, and right now getting the value is best. I do think the Steelers are going to be going hard for Jordan Addison. And this team could end up using Deontay Johnson, but I think you actually use Deontay for a year in this situation. Like, you could ask for another second this year, but I think the Steelers are willing to pass with their second next year to get an instant scheme fit. Again, you could debate on the value of that trade, but I certainly think that the Buccaneers are going to try to play the long game here. You need to get picks in the long run. You guys are not ready to make a bounce back. Steelers are making a move up here to select the first wide receiver off the board, Jordan Addison, and pair him back up with Kenny Pickett. Pick number 20. So, Seattle. I mean, this is a good spot to go offensive line. I wish that Peter Skoronski were here because that'd be perfect. That's my ideal pick. Brian Breezy is an option, but again, I think his medicals are going to push him down the board, and that's kind of the consensus, is that he's starting to be pushed down the board. This is another trade back spot. You could go with Cyrus Torrence, but I'd rather just end up going John Michael Schmitz later on. You, again, got guys like Quentin Johnston here who should be moved up for. I just don't see any buyers. I don't see the suitors coming in. I really don't. Actually, the Giants, I am considering it. I think the Giants might be a pretty good move-up option. A team that is trying to make a strong playoff push here. And it might be insane with this amount of trades happening, but I don't think Seahawks are looking for picks this year. You might be able to accept a third from next year to move up 5 spots. And you guys are going to be taking Quentin Johnston to be your true wide receiver 1. Leaving the Chargers sitting here saying, damn, what should we do? Michael Mayer? Bijan? Like, Bijan's not a bad move. I don't think Bijan's a bad move at all. But Zay Flowers, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. I love Zay Flowers, though. He really does kind of have the Antonio Brownness to him. When I watched him play last night, and I was like, oh, man, he does look really awesome. He does. I think I'm going to go with him. He's my wide receiver 3. So we're seeing my top 3 wide receivers go, not in the order that I have them, but back to back to back. Leaving the Ravens sitting here saying, do we just end up going wide receiver again? Like Jackson Smith and Jigba's here. Why not take him? And I think he's ideal. I really do. I think he is the ideal fit. Leaving Bijan Robinson here to be selected by the Vikings. I'd go DB, but if I'm going to be frank with you guys, Bijan's a little too good to pass on. Dalvin Cook might be cap casualty, and Alexander Madison is gone. Like, Brian Flores is awesome, but I also think they can make do with a second-round DB as well. Actually, a third round, because you guys lost the second. But I think Bijan's just too good to pass on. Pick number 24. Looking at the guys available, Osiris Torrance makes a lot of sense here. But, I mean, it does. It makes the most sense. I do think that, I know one of you guys brought this up, and I'm tripping on who said it, so I do apologize. But you guys are saying that Griffin might be a cap casualty. I'm going to draft Emmanuel Forbes. I'm going to do it. I love Emmanuel Forbes, and I want to take him to a team besides the Cowboys for once. I really do think he's special. Pick number 25. This is a great spot for Osiris Torrance. You traded back. You got the extra third next year, and then you end up still getting the player that you probably wanted all along. For the Cowboys, I think Michael Mayer is an underrated position to draft, but Cam Smith feels like a perfect dude to grab here. You know, somebody who could really be an X factor for you on the outside. I do worry about his speed. Like Tyreek, to be fair, I actually might draft Tyreek Stevenson above him. I have Tyreek higher, and he is more athletic. We're actually going to do that. I think the Cowboys are going to take a swing on him over Cam Smith. Cam Smith might be running a 4.5, and there's three cornerbacks in this class that I'm worried about their 40 times. That's Cam Smith, Eli Ricks, and then Jalen Jones. I think all might run the 4.5s. Just very, very worried about them in terms of their straight line speed, just not being good enough. But Tyreek might be running 4.4 flat. Definitely somebody at 212 pounds is also a really good player to learn from Trevon Diggs. Pick number 27. I'm going to go after the big man here. We're going to go DeJuan Jones. I think he's absolutely spectacular. Just the way he's been able to reinvent himself over the offseason. Said this last year about Jordan Davis. Like, you just look really bad in the games. And yeah, you factor that in, but you see the work ethic when you don't have a specified regimen by your university. And I think DeJuan Jones really is that awesome. Leaving Michael Mayer to be pretty much easily taken here by the Bengals. I don't think there's very much debate for that. At pick number 29, Brian Breezy would not be an awful option. I think he might be the type of guy that you draft. Lucas Van Ness just makes too much sense for you to replace Marcus Davenport. And you guys have pretty much been dealing with injury issues with Peyton. So Peyton Turner, he's a good player, but I think we're going to take the Lucas Van Ness train here. I think his hype train might cool off a little bit. Pick number 30 for the Cardinals. So now we're able to sit pretty and do whatever the hell we want. Again, this is a team where I think Javon Hargrave would be a great option. Brian Breezy is still here. I don't think you need to have one or the other. I might want to have both. So we're going to go Brian Breezy here. And that caps off a one hell of a first round there for the Cardinals. Pick number 31 and ending off the first round, it is the now Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs. And I think edge rusher, defensive interior are the obvious positions to look at. Offensive line at least should be considered, but that's a bad class. It's a really bad tackle class. That's going to be tough when we get into round 3 as to what the hell I'm going to do. But other guys to note, Kalijah Kancey, he's 280, but I think he can totally get to a much higher level. I want to check. I think he's 6 foot flat. There is a potential concern that he's 5'11". That might push him really far down the board. You know, if you're like a midget, it's going to be really tough to be a good player. And a lot of people are saying Aaron Donald, but Aaron Donald, there's not many Aaron Donalds out there. That's why he is truly that special. I would wait for Keanu Benton. I would. And looking at the guys who are still available, I mean, you still got top-end players like Drew Sanders that are here that I would love. And honestly, a team I could see making a move up here, and because I could totally see a couple of these guys going, is the Seahawks. I think the Seahawks, since you guys just acquired that extra pick, are in a perfect spot to make a small move up here with the Chiefs. And it might require that 3rd round pick, but I honestly think it's totally worth it. You guys now have offense, and now you're going to be getting a nice defensive piece as well. It will require a next year 3rd, but I think the Giants might perform worse than you will. That's just my gut feeling. So you guys are going to be able to move up here and select a great player. I mean, it's down to Trenton Simpson, Drew Sanders, or else an edge rusher. To me, you can choose whichever one that you want. I think that the lack of linebackers is more of a concern than the lack of edge rushers and the lack of defensive interior guys. So you choose whichever one you want. I think Trenton Simpson has the highest upside out of the linebackers, so I'm going to be going Trenton Simpson to end off the first round. It's been a crazy trades mock draft, but honestly, I'm actually pretty happy with it. There's not much that's sitting really weird with me, except for maybe the Aaron Rodgers aspect. But let me know what you guys think. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you on the far side. Peace.